Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike here from Arizona. I am doing a video today on this tank right here. I don't talk a whole lot about this tank. This tank has been in a love-hate relationship with me for the last several years, but I absolutely love this tank as much as sometimes I hate it for particular reasons. So this tank has gone from a reef tank back to a predator tank. Now it is back to a reef tank, and that's where it'll stay, thanks to the help of Club Reef, and we will be bringing this tank back to life shortly. So I'm going to address a few things about this tank that I want to talk about before we get started on the journey that this tank is about to take. First off, this is a 200-gallon aquarium, okay? It's not a long 200-gallon aquarium, it's a cube. And it's not an exact cube, but it's square-shaped, okay? So it basically has, you know, it has a length of 44 and a half, 31 and a half width, and about 36 inches tall. So not the most perfect cube, but needless to say, it's a good size fish tank. It stands like 6.5 feet tall from top to bottom with the stand, which makes it quite hard for somebody like me to get inside of it without a ladder. I need a ladder and I need tools to get down to the bottom because I am only about 5'9", and at the end of the day, you know, not being blessed with a significant height, like if I was 6'4" or something like that, this would be a much easier tank to maintain. But instead, I have to get up on a ladder and use tools to get down to the bottom to clean it. This tank actually has not had a water change yet this week. I do one 30 to 40 gallon water change every week on this tank since I've been converting it over to becoming a reef. What that says, you might notice that we have a little bit of hair algae in here. Here's one floating. There's some on the back right there, and there's some right here. A little bit of hair algae. This tank was actually engulfed in hair algae a few weeks ago because when I had it as a predator tank and took them out, I decided, oh, I'm not going to do any water changes because I don't have any fish in here. Not thinking, and the amount of waste from those fish without a water change caused a major hair algae breakout in this tank, and I had to deal with that. Again, this, you couldn't even see the rocks. That's how much hair algae was in here. And I controlled it with a couple of simple methods that anybody can do, which if you have hair algae problems, now here, this is what you might want to try. First off, when you do your water changes, which this, I always use this method, is use RODI water. I have a 90 gallon per day Spectra Pure RODI unit, and that is one of the best units you can get for a reef aquarium. Okay, in my personal opinion, there may be ones out there that you think are better or what, but in my opinion, that one is the best one. I always get 0 parts per million from out of my tap water. My tap water is roughly around 400 to 500 ppm out of the tap. Okay, it could even be higher. Sometimes I've tested it and it's been closer to 700 parts per million out of the tap. All right, so, but as of right now, it's around 400 to 500 depending on the day that I test it. So that's one step. The second step is using this stuff right here. Now, this I don't do this full time. I only do this if I ever have algae outbreaks. This is Nopox. Basically, it's carbon dosing for your reef aquarium. If you carbon dose, you will starve off the excess nutrients. In turn, the algae will die, and when it dies, it detaches from the rocks, which makes it easier to siphon out when you're sucking it out. And then also too, as you can tell here, I've added turbo snails. So let me zoom up on this guy. This right here is not part of the rock. It is a snail, and he's eating the algae. So there's about 10 in here at this time. There's one right there too. There's about 10 in here at this time. And what they do is I place them on the algae at given times, and they'll just stay there and eat it until it's all gone. And if you're doing your job and you're reducing the nitrates and phosphates in your tank by carbon dosing and doing your regular water changes, there won't be any nutrients for it to grow back, and the snails will eat it and it will not grow back, and your rock will start looking like this. I do want to apologize, I did not clean the glass in the last couple of days, so it is a little bit, you know, a little bit foggy to look through, but this is an acrylic tank. It's completely clear, like more clear than any other tank you can have. when it is clean. This thing is awesome. I'm going to be doing a water change on it today. Today's the actual maintenance day for this tank. But I did want to get into the hair algae issue in this tank because it is not nice to have. And once you have it in a saltwater tank, it's an ongoing battle unless you can get it under control. And that's the best way to get it under control. Like I said, another method that you can use, and I do use that, is have a large sump with macroalgae. So down here, you might be able to see that this thing is pretty much covered in macroalgae, and I have also a protein skimmer, which in turn actually takes all the solid waste out of the fish tank as well. These are ways to be a successful saltwater aquarist and reefist, and if you can do all those things, you will have no problems. But as you can see, even though I still was doing my maintenance, the only thing that I skipped for like a couple of weeks, I would say 2.5 to 3 weeks, I skipped the water changes, and that was one key element to start hair algae in your tank. So just so you know, it's that easy to get a hair algae outbreak in your reef aquarium. If, let's say, you go on vacation or somebody else is watching your tank, they overfeed it, you know, hair algae will just start. I have watched many other YouTubers go through this problem and try to fix this problem, and it takes them a long time. And it's not a problem that fixes overnight. You can siphon this stuff out, but if you're not reducing the nitrates and phosphates, you literally will just continue to grow hair algae just as fast as you're taking it out. So yeah, I would say you have to do all those methods, because if you just carbon dose and kill it off, because that will kill it, but if you do carbon dose and kill it off, that's just a band-aid. What you really want to do is get the whole source of what caused the hair algae to begin with, and in my case it was lack of water changes with high nitrates from fish waste of fish that were huge. Because the predators I had in here, I had a really big triggerfish and I had a really big pufferfish, and those guys were almost about 1 foot long a piece, and those guys literally just ate and pooped all day, and that's when they were gone out of the tank. That's what was left, and there was really nothing eating the algae, so it just came and grew, and it got this whole tank engulfed. But now it's starting to look normal again. My sand is white. My rocks are pretty much crystal clear of any algae whatsoever, but it's good because you don't want to start adding corals to a tank with hair algae, because they will suffocate your corals and kill them. But my main objective for this tank is to have, right now I do have a pair of clowns that I got from Club Reef, and I will continue to buy from Club Reef to get corals and other fish. And I will get probably just a couple more fish, not many fish, but I want this tank to be literally like a coral forest. Like it just wants to be a complete reef. This thing will literally be head to toe in coral. So I'm contemplating adding more rock. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that yet. I kind of like the look of it now with less rock. There used to be 200 pounds of live rock in here, but now we're looking at right now is about 140 pounds of live rock, so I took about 60 pounds out. So I don't know if I'm going to add that back, or if I'm just going to continue on with this and just literally just head to toe, top to bottom, with corals all over this, and actual different types of corals in the sand that can be placed at the bottom. So we're really gonna play a lot with this tank as the time goes on and as the weeks go on. But there's no rush, because the biggest mistake you can make in doing a reef tank is rushing. The first thing I'd like to do before adding my first coral is literally getting this hair algae down to literally 0. So after today's water change, if it does not all siphon out, we will wait another week before adding any corals. We definitely will add fish, because I actually am getting a couple of varieties of fish that do eat algae, and that will definitely be a huge help. But we are not going to be adding any corals with the possibilities of the hair algae growing over it. So we're really going to be taking our time. So basically that's going to be my journey on this tank, is bringing this tank from being pretty plain with the 2 clownfish and these rocks to literally having a living, thriving reef within a couple of months. So I hope you stay along with me for the ride. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this update. I will talk to you later. Please comment, like, and please subscribe, and please don't forget to visit me at greenoasisfarms.com.